Congressman Hoekstra and I are here today to say that we have found weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, chemical weapons.
On independent experts and the level-headed, staggering in amazement tonight that deteriorated mustard gas canisters, at least 15 years old and as much as 18 years old, could be palmed off by desperate politicians as some kind of rationale for the deaths of 2,500 American servicemen and women in Iraq. Republican Senator Rick Santorum down 18% in the polls in his own re-election bid in Pennsylvania, joined by the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Representative Pete Hoekstra of Michigan, in pimping part of a 2-month-old military intelligence report describing the existence of old munitions shells with chemical weapons that are degraded, unusable, and non-threatening.
Thing that I've been talking about for a while, which is covert activity. You know, there have been scientists turning up dead in Russia and in Iran. There have been computer viruses. There have been problems at their facility. I hope that the United States has been involved with that. The gitmo is essential to leave open. We have to use enhanced interrogation techniques, all enhanced interrogation techniques. It has been proven to be successful in gathering information that was critical for us in the war against terror, and we need to continue that operation.
Former Pennsylvania Senator and presidential hopeful Rick Santorum has taken on Senator John McCain on the subject of torture. Santorum said McCain doesn't understand how enhanced interrogation works. Senator McCain was subjected to torture during his 5 years in captivity in North Vietnam. When McCain's spokeswoman was asked about the remarks by Santorum, she said, "Who?" Then McCain's aide Mark Salter said this, "For pure blind stupidity, nobody beats Santorum."
This is what their objective is. Their objective is to, in fact, create a calamity. This is what their theology teaches.
Now, I'm hopeful that some of the things we're seeing with respect to the nuclear program that the United States is involved with, which is, on occasion, scientists working on the nuclear program in Iran turn up dead. I think that's a wonderful thing. I think we should send a very clear message that if you are a scientist from Russia or from North Korea or from Iran and you're going to work on the nuclear program to develop a nuclear bomb from Iran, you are not safe. And if people say, well, you can't go out and assassinate people, well, tell that to Al-Awlaki. Okay? We've done it. We've done it for an American citizen.
Tonight's Truth puts Senator Santorum's memory to the test and lets you make the call. Sunday, Sioux City, Iowa. Listen.
I don't want to make people's lives better by giving them somebody else's money. I want to give them the opportunity to go out and earn the money.
Here's a little more from our conversation with Senator Santorum last night.
I've looked at it several times. I was starting to say one word, and I sort of came up with a different word and moved on, and it sounded like black.
It sure did. It sure did. Let's listen one more time.
I don't want to make people's lives better by giving them somebody else's money.
Really shocked at what he said, and what he said was not only insensitive, it was pandering, I think, to the worst interests in the American people, and divisive. He's auditioning to be the leader of the nation. The leader of the nation has to represent and respect all people. And I think what he did was deliberate. I think it was divisive. And I wish what Senator Santorum had said is, I said it, I didn't mean it, I regret it, and moved on. I think what he's done is he's compounded the criticism by sort of, creating some confusion about whether he said it or not. You heard it, I heard it, I was shocked, surprised, he should be ashamed. And it's just something we've got to speak out against, because the facts are simply otherwise in terms of who makes up those Americans who need social safety net programs. The fact is that all Americans benefit. The fact is we're one nation.
The question is, and this is what Barack Obama didn't want to answer, is that human life a person under the Constitution? And Barack Obama says no. Well, if that person, human life, is not a person, then I find it almost remarkable for a black man to say, no, we are going to decide who are people and who are not.
On same-sex marriage, he said he'd annul all gay marriages already performed.
I think marriage has to be one thing for everybody, that you can't have 50 different marriage laws in this country. You have to have one marriage law.
What would you do with same-sex couples who got married? Would you make them get divorced? And he said you couldn't.
Well, their marriage would be invalid.
Recent polls show more than half of the country supports same-sex marriage. Folks, the Republican Party has been in a mad rush to its extreme white wing, and Rick Santorum has been there waiting the whole time. Then you look at the fact that when we had this infamous booing of a gay soldier who was serving this country, most people don't remember that question was being posed to Rick Santorum. Watch this.
In 2010, when I was deployed to Iraq, I had to lie about who I was because I'm a gay soldier, and I didn't want to lose my job. My question is, under one of your presidencies, do you intend to circumvent the progress that's been made for gay and lesbian soldiers in the military?
What would you do with soldiers like Stephen Hill? I mean, he's out.
What we're doing is playing social experimentation with our military right now, and that's tragic. I would just say that going forward, we would reinstitute that policy if Rick Santorum was president. Period.
So poor people, working class people, people of color don't have any good role models in the community that are men and they're not married. And he sees a soldier in uniform booed because he's gay, and he just goes talking about social experimenting, doesn't even say to the crowd how disrespectful that is to someone putting their life on the line.
It was the moment for him to say, you know, to thank our men and women in the armed services for their sacrifice and the fact that they're willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for the country. But, you know, this is all, Rick Santorum has a very specifically Catholic vision for the country, which has at its center the family unit, the nuclear family comprised of a man and a woman and children. And his economic vision for the country is predicated on that. Last night, his answer to America's current economic problems were, we need to focus on the family, which, you know, there are a number of studies that show two-parent homes tend to be more stable. Economically, they do better, but that's ignoring the reality of what's happening in America. That's ignoring the fact that folks are starting from different places, and things like education have a lot to do with how you succeed. You know, the fact that he's going back on, you know, advocating for the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell is against the Council of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, numerous military commanders, an overwhelming majority of those serving in the military at present, but it is part of this very specifically Christian Catholic idea that Rick Santorum has about America.
Look at the wealth gap. Now, that's a touchy subject. A majority of Americans think there's something unfair in our economic system. But your platform is Darwinian free market. Sell it.
There is income inequality in America. There always has been. And hopefully, and I do say that, there always will be.
We do not accept that ours will ever be a nation of haves and have-nots. We must always be a nation of haves and soon-to-haves.
You see, okay. You see, Mitch Daniels, John, is using a dog whistle, whereas Santorum is using one of these. Right.
Oh, Rick Santorum has...
President Obama once said he wants everybody in America to go to college. What a snob.
No, not. What a snob. Well, look who's educating his children. I guess someone's too good for not knowing things. Rick, I don't know if you know this, but snobs are exclusionary in nature. Ooh, do you know who Muffy wants to join the country club? All the Mexicans. What a snob. Just to be clear, you're coming out against people educating their kids because it's fancy. Explain that.
There are a lot of people in this country that have no desire or no aspiration to go to college because they have a different set of skills and desires and dreams that don't include college. There are there's technical schools, there's additional training, vocational training, there's skills and apprenticeships.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood. All Santorum is saying is that four-year colleges aren't for everyone and that there's absolutely nothing wrong with technical schools, vocational training, apprenticeships.
which is hardly Barack Snobama's position.
So tonight I ask every American to commit to at least 1 year or more of higher education or career training. This can be a community college or a 4-year school, vocational training or an apprenticeship.
I just winded myself. You know, I'm beginning to suspect there might be something more to Rick Santorum's hatred of colleges.
Oh, I understand why he wants you to go to college. He wants to remake you in his image.
Ah, that's ridiculous. If Obama were trying to remake us in his image, he'd send us to a madrasa.
I've heard people say that they think Arlen Specter's a liberal. Well, let me tell you, as a member of the Senate leadership, Arlen Specter was the key vote, not just in supporting the president's tax plan that created jobs and has revived this economy, but in getting the votes necessary to make that passage possible. Arlen is with us on the votes that matter to move our agenda forward for this president and for the country. I'm proud to endorse Arlen Specter.
Regrettably, there are those in our party who would lead us down a different path. A different path which would squander this unique moment in our nation's history by using our political capital to pursue a radical social agenda. A radical social agenda which would end a woman's right to choose and mandate school prayer. When Pat Robertson says there is no constitutional doctrine of separation of church and state, I say he is wrong. The first issue, let me say it as plainly as I can. Neither this nation nor this party can afford a Republican candidate so captive to the demands of the intolerant right that we end up by re-electing a president of the incompetent left.
Have you ever broken the law, Senator?
Well, yeah, I admitted, back when I was running for the Senate, that when I was in college, that I smoked pot, and that was something that I did when I was in college.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.